I rejected him on purpose. It was a test. I wanted to see if he'd get angry, if he'd beg, if he'd show his true colors. He didn't. He was perfect about it. So 3 weeks later, I told him the truth and said we could finally date. He said no. He actually said no to me. And somehow, I became the villain in everyone's eyes. But I still don't understand what I did wrong. If you've ever watched someone sabotage themselves and refuse to see it, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into how one woman's mind games destroyed everything she wanted. My name is Madison, and 6 months ago I ruined the best thing that could have happened to me. And honestly, part of me still thinks I was right. Let me explain. I'm 26 years old, and I've been through some terrible relationships. My first boyfriend in college cheated on me with my roommate. The guy after that seemed perfect for 6 months, then turned into a jealous, controlling nightmare. The last one before this story, he seemed sweet until I rejected one of his advances, and he called me names I won't repeat here. So yeah, I have trust issues, and I developed a system. When a guy shows interest in me, I don't just say yes. I test him first. I need to see how he handles rejection before I let him into my life. Because if a man can't handle a simple no with grace, imagine what he'll do when things get hard in a relationship. It's smart, right? It's protection. It's self-preservation. At least that's what I told myself. His name was Ethan. 28, I worked in the finance department while I was in marketing. We'd been at the same company for 2 years, but we really started talking during a cross-department project about 4 months ago. He was different. Quiet confidence. Never tried too hard to impress anyone. Had this calm energy that made you feel like everything would be okay. We'd grab coffee together, eat lunch at the same table, text about random things after work. I liked him. I really liked him. More than I wanted to admit. My friend Hannah noticed. "Girl, you're into him." "Maybe. So why don't you let him ask you out? He's clearly interested." "Because I need to know he's safe first." Hannah rolled her eyes. "Not everyone is your ex, Madison. And I won't know that until I test him." She didn't understand. None of my friends did. They hadn't been through what I'd been through. They didn't know how quickly a nice guy could turn into a monster the moment things didn't go his way. The day came on a Friday afternoon. The project had wrapped up, everyone was in a good mood, and Ethan caught me in the parking lot. "Hey, Madison, got a second?" My heart started racing. I knew what was coming. "Sure, what's up?" He looked nervous, adorably nervous. "So, I've really enjoyed getting to know you these past few months. And I was wondering if maybe you'd want to get dinner sometime. Not as coworkers. As you know." There it was, the moment I'd been waiting for. And I did what I always do. "Ethan, that's really sweet. But I don't think that's a good idea. I'm not really looking for anything right now." I watched his face carefully. This was the test. Would he get angry? Would he push back? Would he try to convince me I was wrong? Would he call me names or make me feel guilty? He didn't do any of that. His expression flickered with disappointment, but he recovered quickly. "Totally understand. No worries at all. I just wanted to be honest about how I felt. We're good." I nodded, almost disappointed by how well he handled it. "Thanks for understanding. See you Monday." "Absolutely. Have a good weekend." And he walked away. No drama. No anger. No passive-aggressive comments. Just acceptance. He passed. Over the next 3 weeks, I watched him. He was professional at work. Friendly but not pushy. He stopped texting me after hours, stopped suggesting coffee runs, gave me space. He wasn't cold, he was respectful. He was doing exactly what a mature person does after being rejected. He was perfect. And I was ready to tell him the truth. I texted him on a Tuesday night. "Hey, can we talk?" He responded quickly. "Sure. What's up? Can you call me?" It's easier to explain. A minute later, my phone rang. "Hey," I said, suddenly nervous. "So, I've been thinking a lot about what happened. When you asked me out." "Okay. And I need to tell you something. When I said no, it wasn't because I wasn't interested. I actually really like you, Ethan." Silence. "I said no as a test," I continued, "to see how you'd react. A lot of guys get angry or mean when they're rejected. I wanted to see if you were different. And you were. You were so mature and respectful about it. You passed. I smiled, waiting for his relief, his gratitude, his excitement that we could finally be together. So I was thinking maybe we could actually go out now. Dinner this weekend. More silence. Then, Madison, I appreciate you being honest with me. But I'm going to have to say no. My stomach dropped. What? Why? Because I don't play games. When I asked you out, I was being genuine. You responded with a test. A manipulation. You watched me deal with rejection for 3 weeks, while you already knew you were interested. That's not how I want to start a relationship. It wasn't manipulation, it was a game. And I don't do games. I don't want to date someone who tests me before we're even together. If this is how things start, I can't imagine what a relationship would look like. I felt my face getting hot. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. You're being dramatic. It was just a little test. I was protecting myself. I understand wanting to protect yourself. But there are ways to do that without deceiving people. I'm sorry you've been hurt before, Madison. I really am. But I can't start something with someone who thinks lying is an acceptable way to evaluate a partner. So what, I'm the bad guy now? For being careful. You're not the bad guy. But you're not the person I want to date either. I wish you well. He hung up. I sat there, phone in my hand, stunned. He had rejected me. After I told him he passed. After I gave him the green light. He said no. The audacity. I called Hannah immediately. He said a no. Can you believe that? I told him it was a test and he passed and we could date. And he turned me down. Hannah was quiet for a moment. Madison, I kind of get where he's coming from. What? Think about it from his perspective. He was honest with you, and you lied to him. For 3 weeks. He had to deal with thinking you weren't interested while you were just watching him. I was being careful. You were playing games. And he doesn't want to play. I hung up on her too. The next few days, I vented to anyone who would listen. Our mutual friend Noah. My coworker Virginia. Anyone. I told them Ethan had rejected me for no good reason. That he was being immature. That he couldn't handle a woman who knew what she wanted. Noah actually agreed with me at first. He texted Ethan calling him an idiot for turning me down. But then something shifted. People started asking more questions. They wanted to know exactly what happened. And when I told them about the test, their reactions changed. Wait, you rejected him on purpose? Just to see what he'd do? Yes, but... And then you expected him to be grateful? He passed the test. He should have been happy. The looks on their faces told me everything. They didn't see it my way. Virginia pulled me aside at work. Madison, I'm going to be honest with you because I consider you a friend. What you did was manipulative. If a guy did that to you, rejected you as a test, and then expected you to come running back, you'd call him a player. That's different. How? I couldn't answer. Over the next few weeks, the Whisper Network did its thing. People at work found out what happened. Not from Ethan, he never said a word about it. But I had told so many people my version that the truth eventually came out. I became that girl. The one who plays games. The one who tests people. The one who got exactly what she deserved. Ethan and I stopped speaking entirely. Professional nods in the hallway. Nothing more. He wasn't mean about it. He wasn't petty. He just moved on. That made it worse somehow. 3 months later, I saw him at a company event with a new girl. Pretty. Confident. They were laughing together, and he looked at her the way he used to look at me. I found out later her name was Judith. They'd been dating for 2 months. Apparently she'd asked him out, and he'd said yes immediately. No games. No tests. Just 2 people being honest. I watched them together and felt something I didn't expect, regret. Not just because I'd lost him, but because I realized something about myself that I didn't like. I had become so obsessed with protecting myself from bad men that I'd pushed away a good one. I'd built walls so high that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. And when someone refused to play my games, I blamed them instead of looking at myself. The test wasn't about protecting myself. It was about control. It was about having power. It was about making sure I could never be hurt by making someone prove themselves before I gave them anything. But relationships aren't about control. They're not about tests and games and proving your worth. They're about trust, vulnerability, taking risks. And I had been too scared to take any. 6 months later, I'm still single. Ethan and Judith are still together. Happy, from what I can tell. He never badmouthed me. Never told people what happened. He just quietly moved on with his life, while I was left dealing with the consequences of my own choices. Hannah and I eventually made up. She told me something that stuck with me. Madison, the right person won't need to be tested. And if you feel like you have to test someone, maybe that's a sign you're not ready to be with anyone yet. She was right. I've started therapy, working through the trust issues from my past relationships, learning that protecting yourself doesn't mean manipulating others, learning that vulnerability isn't weakness. I still think about Ethan sometimes. What could have been if I just said yes that day in the parking lot? If I'd taken a chance instead of playing games? But I can't go back. I can only go forward. And maybe someday, when I've done the work on myself, I'll meet someone new. And I won't test them. I won't play games. I'll just be honest and hope they're honest too. Because that's what real love is. Not games. Not tests. Not control. Just two people choosing to trust each other, even when it's scary. I learned that lesson the hard way. And I'll never forget it. Some people think protecting themselves means testing others, making them prove their worth before you give them anything. But real protection isn't manipulation, it's healing. It's doing the work on yourself so you can trust again. Madison thought she was being smart. She thought she was being careful. But all she was doing was pushing away the one person who might have actually been worth trusting. And by the time she realized it, it was too late. Here's my take on this story. Madison isn't evil. She's hurt. She's been through bad relationships and developed unhealthy coping mechanisms. But understanding why someone does something doesn't make it okay. Testing someone without their knowledge or consent is manipulation. Period. It doesn't matter if your intentions are good. You're deceiving someone and then expecting them to be grateful when they find out. Ethan did the right thing. He recognized a red flag and walked away. He didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't try to change her mind. He just said no and moved on. That's maturity. And here's the real lesson. If you feel like you need to test someone before you can trust them, you're not ready for a relationship. You need to work on yourself first. Therapy, self-reflection, healing, whatever it takes. Because bringing your trauma into a new relationship and making the other person pay for your ex's mistakes, that's not protection. That's just hurting someone new. If this story made you think, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories about relationships, red flags, and personal growth. Drop a comment. Have you ever been tested by someone? Or have you been the one doing the testing? What did you learn? And remember, the right person doesn't need to be tested. They just need to be trusted. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.